want to speak to why waiting on the Lord hurts so much. Because it's not just that you're waiting on Him for the promise, but there's actually something a whole lot deeper that's going on. The Hebrew word for wait, or for one of the Hebrew words, I should say, for wait is chaka, which means to long for or to tarry. So it's the idea of when we're waiting, something's tarrying and we're not receiving it. And the Strong's Concordance mentions this about this word chaka, and I'm probably saying it wrong. It's apparently akin to another word, chaka, sounds the same through the idea of piercing. And this other word, chaka, which means piercing, it also means to cut, to carve into, to engrave, or to set a limit. And so when we talk about waiting on the Lord, we're not just talking about the test of perseverance. We're actually talking about the process of our flesh being pierced again and again. And the first two places that we see this in the Bible, this word piercing, is in 1 Kings and then in Job. And in 1 Kings 6:35 it says, "Then he carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers on them, and overlaid them with gold applied evenly on the carved work." So this is when Solomon hired workers to engrave and carve beautiful images that then they would put into the temple. And the second place that we see this, where it is in Job 13:27, and it says, "You put my feet in the stocks and watch closely all my paths. You set a limit for the soles of my feet." And this word limit is this word chaka, or piercing. So we're not just being patient. And I think that we can kind of get into this idea that patience is all that's required of us. But that's not what this is, because He's actually making us into a beautiful carved work. And just as in 1 Kings, when Solomon hired people to carve these works for the temple, today you're that temple. And you are God's masterpiece. And so He's taking His time, and He's taking great care, attention to detail, as He's engraving and carving you into this beautiful, fine-tuned work. And that's what's happening while we're waiting on Him. So why does it hurt? Because it's about long suffering. There's this actual suffering that's happening in the longing and in the waiting, because what He's after is this significant beauty that's going to come out of us when He actually carves away pieces of our flesh. And in the end, we'll be sanctified stewards that can carry the promise that He so wants to give us, but He wants us safe for that promise. And hopefully in the end, there won't be a whole lot of us that can muck up the promise when He hands it safely into our arms. So don't be afraid to wait with Him and wait on Him, because He's faithful to deliver, and that promise will come.